Hello everyone and welcome to Sheep Market USA. At Sheep Market USA, we'll strive to bring you all the information you need from market prices to grain futures, flock management, and more. So, no matter if you're a veteran or just starting out with your first flock, we'll bring you all the information needed to help you make the very best decisions you can about your flock, your farm, and your finances. Now, here's your Sheep Market USA host, Lanny Brothers.
Mark, thank you very much for that introduction. I do greatly appreciate it. Yes, we are unfortunately back to Sheep Market News Radio for this round. It's been a very busy spring-like day on the farm with weaning groups to take care of, foot trimming to get done, and I hate to say it, but I just wasn't up to recording the video section. So I hope that's okay with you, but you know, spring does get very busy on the farm. We're going to have for you on this edition of Sheep Market News Radio your sheep summary report for sales for this past week from the U.S.A. We'll also have your grain futures and your feedstuff report are all coming up. So let's start things off as we usually do with last week's sheep summary from the USDA. Compared to last week, slaughter lambs were mostly steady to $10 lower. Slaughter ewes were mostly steady to $10 lower as well, and feeder lambs were not well tested. Slaughter lambs, choice and prime, 2 and 3, wooled and shorn in San Angelo, 120 to 140 pound averages, brought 180 to 198, 150 to 185 pounders, brought 150 to 158. New Holland, Pennsylvania, 120 to 145, brought 200 to 235, with a few reaching as high as 282. Fort Collins, Colorado, 163 pound averages were bringing 212.50. South Dakota, 110 to 140 pounders, bringing 194 to 217.50. 140 to 165 pounders, bringing 168 to 197. Kelowna, Iowa, 110 to 130 pounders, bringing 215 to 250. As we move now to the slaughter lambs, choice and prime, 1 and 2 in the hair breeds. San Angelo, 40 to 60 pound averages were bringing 284 to 318, with some reaching as high as 325. 60 to 70 pound averages, 278 to 306, with a few reaching 312. 70 to 80 pounders, 268 to 298, some reaching as high as 316. 80 to 90 pound averages brought 262.90. 90 to 105 pound averages brought 138 to 285. Fort Collins, Colorado, 60 to 70 pound averages brought 280 to 287.50, and the 86 pounders brought 285. South Dakota, 40 to 50 pound averages brought 285 to 295. 50 to 60 pounders, 265 to 285. 60 to 70s brought 260 to 275. 77 pound averages bringing 255. 80 to 90 pound class brought 232.50 to 265, and the 100 to 110 pound class brought 209 to 211. In Kelowna, Iowa, the 40 to 50 pound averages brought 270 to 305, some reaching as high as 315. 50 to 60 pounders, 280 to 305. 60 to 70 pounders, 267 to 307.50. 70 to 80 pounders brought 265 to 285. 80 to 90 pound average brought 270 to 275, and the 90 to 100 pound averages brought 250 to 265. In Missouri, 50 to 60 pound averages brought 240 to 250. 60 to 70 pounders, 240 to 245. 70 to 80 pound averages brought 245 to 255, and the 101 pound class brought 210. In Arkansas, 49 pound averages brought 265. 50 to 60 pound averages brought 225 to 290, with some reaching as high as 3. 60 to 70 pound class brought 252.50 to 290. The 70 to 80 pound class brought 212.50 to 235. Choice and prime, 1 and 2, wooled and shorn, San Angelo, 50 to 60 pound averages brought $3 to 306. 60 to 70 pounders, 294 to 316, and the 90 pound averages brought 268. In New Holland, 40 to 50 pound averages brought 275 to 295, some reaching as high as 330. 50 to 60 pound averages brought 270 to 295, some reaching 365. 60 to 70 pounders brought 295 to 315. 70 to 80 pounders, 280 to 297, some reaching 320, and the 80 to 90 pound averages brought 305 to 325. Fort Collins, Colorado, 60 to 70 pound averages brought 290 to 330. 70 to 80 pounders brought 290 to 310. 80 to 90 pounders, 292.50 to 305, and the 110 pound class brought 275 to 280. In South Dakota, 50 to 60 pound averages brought 290 to 357.50, and the 60 to 70 pounders brought 260 to 335. 70 to 80 pounders, 265 to 312.50, and the 80 to 90 pound class brought 290 to 280. In Kelowna, Iowa, 40 to 50 pound averages, 285 to 330, 50 to 60 pounders, 287.50 to 315, 60 to 70 pounders, 280 to 315 also, and in the 70 to 80 pound class, 265 to 310. And that's your USDA weekly sheep market summary report, released for the week of April 7th through the 11th. You can find the full report online at their website at www.ams.usda.gov. Monday, April 7th, corn closed at 464.5 per bushel, but did have a slow climb throughout the rest of the week, ending on a positive note this past Friday, closing at 490.25 per bushel, which is a gain over the week of 7.25 cents. Soybeans closed last Friday, April 4th at 10.29 per bushel. Monday was another rough day for soybeans, also on the market, closing at 9.83, but then seeing a slow, steady growth throughout the week, ending this past Friday, April 11th, closing at 10.42 per bushel, which is an increase over the week of 13.75 cents. Well, if we had to hand out gold stars for market performers this past week, the winner would be wheat. Wheat closed Friday, April 4th at 5.38 per bushel. Monday was again a down day for wheat as well, closing at 5.36.5 per bushel. And then we see a slow, steady climb throughout the rest of the week, closing this past Friday, April 11th at 5.55 per bushel, which is an increase over the week of 17.75 cents, making it the strongest gain among the three commodities this past week. That wraps up the grain futures report for this past week. Now let's turn the page and take a look at the feedstuff report, with this report issued this past Friday by the USDA. We'll start this report with the DDGs. Current average price $158.33 per ton in the Illinois area. Price last year $185 per ton, so that's down 14.4%. Prices seem to be stabilizing a bit after a noticeable decline earlier this year. Corn gluten pellets. Current average price $124 per ton in the central U.S. Last year at this time $103.75 per ton, which is up 19.5%. Higher demand continues to drive prices up for the corn gluten pellets. Soybean hulls. Average price $126.67 in the Minnesota area. Price this time last year $108.33 per ton. That's up 17%, and those prices consistently rising due to more incorporation into livestock feed. Soybean meal. Current price $2.99 per ton in the Illinois area. Average price last year $282.10 per ton in the Kansas City region. That's up 6% from last year. The export demand is what keeps driving those prices strong. Cottonseed hulls. Average price $398.75 per ton in the California San Joaquin Valley. Last year at this time, $397.50, which is just a slight increase of 0.3%. Prices for cottonseed hulls have remained relatively stable due to steady availability. Cottonseed meal. Current average price $235 per ton out of the California San Joaquin Valley. Last year at this time, $332.67, which is down 29.4%. Competitive pressures continue to impact the pricing of cottonseed meal. Looking at the grain byproducts report, the wheat Midlands in the Kansas City region, average price $111.67. That's down $5 to $15 per ton from last year's average of $100 per ton. The Kansas region, current average price $116.67. That's down $10 to $15 per ton. A year ago, it was at $108.33 per ton. In the Minnesota area, current average price $88.75, down $3 to $5 per ton. Last year at this time, it was $83 per ton. Chicago, Illinois, current average price $105 per ton. That's unchanged from the last report, with a year ago's report showing $95 per ton. Wheat mill run in the Pacific Northwest, current average price $170 per ton, down $10 from last year's $180 per ton average. Rice bran from the Sacramento Valley in California, current average price $150.40 per ton. A year ago, $157 per ton.